Labor has a very active blog space where the party and federal MPs contribute their stories and users can comment. Labor engages in third-party social networks like YouTube, Twitter and Facebook, and across all networks, users are able to share all content with their friends. And of course, Labor uses the old staple, online staple of email very effectively to keep in touch with its community. Finally, on a limited budget, I should acknowledge that the party employs an impressive, dedicated online digital team. Also in a nod to, yes, yeah. Smell of an oily rag, I think, is the point there. And in a nod to our Victorian colleagues, their digital presence was inventive and broke new ground during their state election last year. An example of that was the party employed 2 comedians to become part of their own Labor TV channel. The strategic goal there was to use comedy to try and draw in people who would not normally be a part of a political conversation. But of course, it's not a case of build it and they will come. The party is experiencing what I think is a double whammy that is limiting its effectiveness online. One, as we know and have talked about over this weekend, it lacks the ability to inspire that offline activism. In listening to the speakers throughout this conference, this has obviously been a consistent theme that the ALP must find a story and recapture its ability to move people, get back to creating genuine ties, strong relationships, binding collectives such as Together We Are Stronger, and to in fact begin listening again to constituents. And James' story yesterday about their fantastic high school project in the UK that was a flop for constituents is a good example. And 2, importantly, other than a handful of exceptions, the party is suffering a failure of execution as a result of endemic, old-fashioned thinking around how campaigns should be conducted, which completely undervalues the importance of online communication. These are built into the party structures and will take time to change. Again, to its credit, there has been some turnaround in some quarters as the party reaches out to other jurisdictions for expertise, demonstrated by our international guests this weekend, and the relationships that have been formed from our party to others in the UK and US specifically over the last 3 years. So moving forward, excuse the message pun, a couple of key online campaigning notes are transparency and the ability to listen. They're used regularly in online campaign training manuals, but in the context of this conference, I really do think that those 2 terms take on a whole new meaning: transparency and the ability to listen. So for the Labor Party and Labor candidates in the future, it will be important to work harder at getting these right, both online and as a party. And it will be important to work harder on the execution of digital specifically. The party's digital team must be given license to implement those basics that make up an effective digital strategy. Blog posts written as press releases must become personal, engaging stories instead. Online language must not be the technocratic stuff that Tim talked about yesterday, but conversational and relaxed. Online audiences immediately switch off if it's not, and I'm sure many of you have here. Tweets mustn't simply be location updates, but replies to commentary in the debate. Digital mustn't be the last on the organisational list, but integrated as one of its central components. The Obama structure is an ideal example of that. And just a quick note, I'm not sure if Mitch is still in the room, but there was a debate internally at the very beginning of Barack Obama's campaign around a particular fundraiser. The head of digital argued that they shouldn't actually hold the fundraiser, but they should instead focus those resources on making a donation online. The goal of the fundraiser was to raise $1 million. The director of social won. They didn't actually hold a physical fundraiser. They made an ask online and raised $25 million. From that point onwards, the guy who came up with that idea sat next to Barack Obama in the campaign headquarters, and that was the nucleus for social media at the heart of the Obama campaign. I think it's a pertinent story. When writing the budget, TV resources must cease to be the first cab off the rank, but be a part of a broader resource allocation that assesses effectiveness by dollars spent. For local candidates, you don't need your own social network online, a la Barack Obama, but you sure as hell need a website. And to avoid the empty disco phenomena, by resourcing online assets correctly, as Tegan says, setting up your website and hoping people will come to it is a bit like opening your own campaign office, sitting there all day and hoping people will come to you. Well, they won't. They just don't care that much. Finally, most importantly, event organisers must stop scheduling the digital speaker last before lunch when everyone's hungry. So just finally, in the future, online campaigning must be a natural extension of the campaign itself. Mitch talked about that. It can't be added on, faked or forced. Future online campaigning strategists will simply be campaign strategists. It would, of course, be silly if I got up here and the session was titled Radio Revolution, How Radio's Changing Politics. Alan Jones would probably disagree with that, but so that's my quick speech. I hope I've knocked it out in time. If you have any quick questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, lunch beckons. Thank you.